Welcome to the June edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll find out why you might see some furry friends at the White Bear Lake Library. We'll say goodbye to the retiring superintendent of the Mahtomedi School District, and we'll see how the city of Oakdale celebrated Public Works Week. All that and more is straight ahead on Northeast Journal. Hello everyone and welcome to the June edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Every month on Northeast Journal we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the northeast section of the Twin Cities. The White Bear Lake Library has a reading program that many kids think is a doggone good time. Let's check it out.
The whole idea is it's a non-judgmental person listening. They don't care if they don't read a word right or if they don't read loud enough. And it kind of gives them, with most of the kids, I think it builds their confidence as the reading time goes on longer. With some of the kids, they're natural with it, and the ones that aren't are the ones that maybe have some, shyness issues. It's really good to see. I was a shy kid, so it's nice to see them come out of their shell.
It just kind of happened by accident. One day we were here and we saw the dogs, and then he was kind of afraid of dogs, so then I encouraged him to go in and read to Sting.
Write a letter to Sting. It's pretty fun because you actually get to read to the dogs, and they're technically just sleeping some of the time, so.
He lays there, sometimes he'll lay on his side. Hopefully most of the time his eyes are open, so that's always a big bonus we shoot for. You get to see the kids kind of start out slowly. You can maybe just barely hear them read, and by the end, they're really getting excited about it.
And I'm now joined in the studio by Dr. Mark Larson, who is retiring after 8 years as the superintendent of the Mahtomedi Public School District. And Dr. Larson, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now, as I mentioned in my intro, you've been the superintendent in Mahtomedi for 8 years, but I understand you were with the district for 9 years?
Yes, assistant superintendent the year before.
And now you're going to be retiring. So I understand, though, you've had a long career in education. Can you kind of give us a little bit of your background?
Sure, 35 years. And so started teaching English in La Center, Minnesota, went to North Branch, taught there, and also was a dean of students, assistant principal at St. Cloud Tech, and then principal at Glencoe Silver Lake High School, and then Minnetonka, middle school principal, and then the title was Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. I don't know if that was a more awkward title that you could get, and then assistant soup here, and then superintendent.
Oh, so you've gotten experience quite a bit in your career.
Yeah. Almost all my experience, except for teaching Sunday school, has been secondary. And so one of the learning curves for me was about elementary school. And frankly, those people are just amazing. The kindergarten teachers, what they're able to do is nothing short of remarkable. And I've just enjoyed getting to know them and getting to work with the elementary staff quite a lot.
Now, throughout your travels, did you know much about the Mahtomedi area before you, accepted the position there?
Yeah, the reputation preceded it. High achieving, excellent scores, emphasis on innovation and engineering, and those were all things that were really attractive.
And what are some of your favorite memories now? Throughout this time, things that you've accomplished and that you're proud of.
It's some big things, but mostly it's the little things. One of the big things is the passage of the bond that we're able to build Wildwood Elementary, refurbish the high school, almost completely gutted it during 2 different summers, and reconstructed that, and then made some safety improvements at the middle school in O.H. Anderson. That was a big thing. The levies have been important, the emphasis that we've placed on equity and the work we've done with that. But the things that I'm going to miss are the small things. The way people like sports, where you see people are really talented doing what they do, I feel that way about teaching. And I love going into classrooms and seeing people who are really good at what they're doing, really good at student engagement, really good at bringing students out of their shell, really good at inspiring and igniting that light bulb. Those are the things that I've enjoyed the most, and frankly, that I'll miss the most.
Well, I noticed when I was just kind of doing some just general research for this interview, I found that you're pretty active with a Twitter account.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I'll come across those for educators or people, and it's like, you know, oh, they haven't tweeted in a few years or something. But yours, you know, it seemed like pretty much every day. It seemed like you're all over the place getting footage of high schoolers doing stuff, teachers, to the little kids doing their programs. So it seems like you definitely are well aware of everything that's going on in your district.
Yeah, it's important to do that. And I think a role of a superintendent is to be a cheerleader of a district. And so that Twitter account allows people to see what I see, and I hope, you know, take away something that, wow, this is really great that they're doing this in this class, or it seems really fun, or the program. Today, for example, was the seniors. They walk over to Wildwood Elementary, and the elementary students are out there in the hallways. The kids put on their cap and gowns, and they stroll through the hallway, reconnect with some of their old teachers, and the students now see, this is what I want to do, you know, in 10 or 11 or 12 years.
And, you know, that particular school, Wildwood Elementary, and I'm sure that is something you're quite proud of.
Yeah.
You know, it took a lot of work to get that, but it's, you know, beautiful school, and seems like it's loved by
the community.
The whole community.
Yeah, it really is a gem, and people do love it. And we do have a lot of outside of school events in there, from scouts to community, and we've had a TED Talk there and so forth. It's a great place. It really is quite the venue.
Yeah, I was mentioning to you, you know, I don't have anything to do necessarily with the district, but other than my family has gone there to use the playground. We've flown a kite, you know, in the nearby fields. We've gone sledding. So, you know, we can tell just by the upkeep in that area that there's a lot of pride in that school.
Yeah, and the connection between the high school, middle school, and Wildwood, pretty much all on the same campus, has really promoted a lot of different things. This week we had our outdoor classroom. Our seniors at the high school worked with first graders on tree identification. So they came over and they're in the outdoor classroom figuring out all these things about trees that, frankly, you wouldn't have a chance to otherwise without that outdoor classroom in that great space.
And I also saw, while kind of just perusing your Twitter account, you had a post about kind of like a mentorship program where some of the older kids were.
That's what they were doing.
Young kids, so.
Taking them under their wing and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Great connection for the community and for the school.
Yeah, because those little ones, you know, they really do look up to the bigger kids, and like you said, kind of instill some goals and hopes, you know, that they'll continue on their path as they go through school for those next 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand the next superintendent has been selected and will begin in July. I guess if you could tell us who that is and what kind of advice you're imparting to this next person.
Barb Dufferin, she's the Associate Superintendent at Farmington right now, and she has a lot of different strengths. She's going to be fantastic. One of the things she'll be really good at is strategic planning. She's worked on levies and campaigns, and so she's done some work with that, and she's also done some work with equity. She's going to be a great match. The transition plan is to share with her the important things, and a lot of it's where the files are. We've done a lot of work. We've had an administrative task force looking at our administrative structures. Are we being the most efficient? It's probably an inch or 2 inches of paper because it has all these org charts and what other school districts have. She just needs to read the summary and then know where it is. So I'll be sharing information like that. The work that we've done with Reimagine Minnesota and our equity work, there's a ton of documentation, but just a summary. Those are the type of things that I'll be sharing with her, and just looking forward to helping the transition be as smooth as possible.
Now I know, you know, I'm sure this is the case for superintendents, you know, across the nation, but obviously school safety is such a huge issue. I imagine that's something that's just grown in importance for you over the period of time you've been here in Mahtomedi.
It has, and we've done a lot of safety enhancements to the schools. It's still, you still just don't know what's out there. For example, we don't have any fire alarms except in 2 places, one in the main office and then one by the custodial area. So students can't pull those. That seems to be something that students have done at other places. And so we have to think about things like that, and shatterproof glass and buzzing people in, and a lot of different security pieces are in place, and it's something that weighs on you constantly.
I'm sure, yeah, I mean, it's no easy answers. There's a whole lot that goes into it, but
Right.
obviously, keeping the students and faculty safe at all your buildings is,
Right.
important to you guys.
Very, very important. There's two ways of looking at it. We've done some of the hardening of the schools. We have a school resource officer at the high school, for example. We've mentioned, as I mentioned, the safety features, but it's also softening. And schools have to be places where all kids feel like they belong, where all kids are connected, where there's a caring adult that cares about them and knows them. Those are the softening things of schools that can help in terms of school violence. And I'm proud to say that our teachers and counselors are outstanding with that.
Now, I know another, diversity is also important, and especially in the last decade or so, this kind of Northeast metro area has become a lot more diverse than it was, so that's something I'm sure the
Yep.
districts have to put a lot of time into.
Right. We're part of the Reimagine Minnesota, which has 9 different areas. Part of it is about how we evaluate teachers, how we go about hiring teachers. What are we doing to provide equality of opportunity? We want every kid to have the same opportunities, regardless of race, color, or anything. And so a lot of the work's been done in that, and we'll continue on. I think Mahtomedi is doing really good work. We have not had the ethnic diversity that other places have, but that's slowly changing.
And it just seems, with everything going on in the schools, that Mahtomedi as a community really cares about their students, even beyond just people that, their kids are in the school, but just the community as a whole. It seems like they take a lot of pride in the district.
This spring we did a community survey. We commissioned Springstead Incorporated to do that, and we found that a really high percentage of the parents of the community gave us A's and B's in terms of how well we manage the school finances and the quality of education. And that's great, but it's more telling when you get a survey from the parents. And so in May we just had we have our own survey that we send out to all parents. We don't have 100% respond, but we have about 300 at the high school. And generally speaking, are you proud to say your student goes to Mahtomedi High School? 90% are agreeing with that statement. At the elementaries, it's over 95, and at the middle school, it's also over 90. I mean, pretty remarkable support from families.
Well, I imagine you need that support from the families, in cooperation with all your staff to make it the best experience you can for all the kids out there.
That's exactly right.
What is it about Mahtomedi? Like you said, I think at the beginning of the interview, Mahtomedi is so often recognized as, one of those top districts in the state. What is it, and I know it's been that way for years. What is it about Mahtomedi that seems to just, have such a great school district?
It's a cultural thing. First of all, we hire outstanding teachers. We have parents who send us terrific kids, and we are on the cutting edge of a lot of different things from innovation and engineering, but also curriculum reviews. We have a more aggressive curriculum review cycle than a lot of places because things change so much more rapidly. And so we've done a lot of work with coding and with other things that other districts are just starting to think about now. And the culture's been one that we want to keep improving. It's easy to rest on your laurels, but that's not the right thing to do. And our teachers know that, our administrators know that, and the community knows that. And so we keep on pushing ahead.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but you have any big future plans once you are retired here from the Mahtomedi district?
Joni and I, my wife and I, are married for 35 years, recently became grandparents. And so we'll spend time with our grandchildren and seeing our other 3 children.
And I'm sure, you'll manage to keep yourself busy somehow.
I will.
Right? Well, I want to thank you so much for all your years
pleasure.
of service, all the places you've been, but especially Mahtomedi, since it's here in our area, and wish you the best of luck in the future.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And in late May, National Public Works Week took place as a way to honor and explain the hard work these departments do for their communities. We partnered with the City of Oakdale to produce 5 segments about their Public Works Department, which aired each day of Public Works Week on the city's Facebook page. Here's a look at all 5 of those videos edited together. Welcome to Public Works Week. Each day this week, we will introduce you to one of Oakdale's 4 divisions and give you a glimpse into their typical operations. First off, let's meet the Public Works Director, Brian Bachmeyer, and the Public Works Administrative Assistant, Miranda Williams.
My name is Miranda Williams. I've been with the City of Oakdale for about 2 years, and I'm the Administrative Assistant for Public Works. A lot of phone calls, answering calls, writing work orders. People will call in, problem with something in the city, and I'll direct it to the right supervisor.
My name is Brian Bachmeyer. I'm the Public Works Director and City Engineer for the City of Oakdale, and I've been here since 1989, so I'm in my 30th year with the city. I really see Public Works as being critical to providing the quality of life for our residents. We really address 4 things as part of our community services, with the health, drinking water, and taking care of the sanitary sewer needs, with safety from our plowing operations to patching the city streets and the signing of our city streets, to the recreational with our parks to make sure they're safe and clean, and then also for quality of life and preservation of property values, we have our forestry division, so to make sure that the trees in our community are pretty and healthy, and that our wetlands are also attractive for our residents to enjoy.
Today we are meeting the Utility Division, headed by Superintendent Sean Nelson.
My name is Sean Nelson. I'm the Utility Superintendent for the City of Oakdale, and I've worked here almost 19 years now. Utilities Division is responsible for the water system throughout the community, the sewer system throughout the community, the street lighting throughout the community. Myself, I take care of some of the safety within the public works realm itself. Going through the winter season, that is our typical, the water main break is probably our biggest thing that happens. So, we have a lot of issues with the pipes movement within the ground. With the summer coming on, the spring comes the water flushing of our system, clean out all the sediment that's kind of been just sitting there for a while, and then after that it's on to construction season.
Today we are meeting the Forestry and Environmental Services Division, headed by Superintendent Warren Coda.
I am the Superintendent of Environmental Services / Forestry. I've been in that position for almost a year now, and I've been with the City of Oakdale 9 years. We take care of the trees, the landscape beds, and the surface water conveyance system, which is storm sewers. Winter kind of went long this year, so we're way behind on all of our landscapes, so I'm busy trying to keep the weeds out of landscapes. We haven't even started mulching yet, then we have to mulch landscapes. Then Summerfest will come up. We'll have to beautify Walton Park completely for Summerfest.
Today we are meeting the Streets Division, headed by Superintendent Jim Romanek.
My name is Jim Romanek. I'm the Street and Fleet Superintendent for the City of Oakdale, and I've been full-time for 30 years. In the Streets Division, we're mainly in charge of the street repairs, street cleaning, street sign maintenance, and then in the winter we do the snow plowing. And then I'm also involved with the mechanics. We maintain our fleet of vehicles at Public Works and the police department and the fire department. I just love coming in and helping people and solving problems and getting things done.
Today we are meeting the Parks and Buildings Division, headed by Superintendent Jeff Kuzling.
I'm the Parks and Buildings Superintendent for the City of Oakdale. I started in 2001 of February, so I've been here just over 17 years. Daily in the summer, we've got, we'll drag and prep over 20 to 30 ball fields every day. We cut the city once a week from the north end to the south end, all the parks, the towers, lifts, well stations, we maintain all of that. I think the most rewarding part of my job is just seeing a project from start to finish and completion, and just being successful and knowing that if we're given a task, we can go out and tackle it and maintain it and get it done to perfection.
We're almost out of time on this month's Northeast Journal, but before we go, we want to tell you about an exciting event. I'm now joined by Pat McLaughlin, who is with Vets for Music, and he's here to talk about Vets Fest, which takes place on July 7th at Richard Walton Park in Oakdale. And Pat, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
And hopefully I got all that right. I think right, it's Vets for Music.
Vets for Music is the name of the nonprofit. The festival itself is called Vets Fest. We had one in 2016 at the same location, Richard Walton Park, and we had about 1,000 people show up. We had a Huey landing and a reenactment and a vintage aircraft flyover, and we're planning on doing all that the same, plus music from 3 good bands.
Now, what exactly is Vets for Music?
Well, Vets for Music is a nonprofit that I started about a couple years ago. We go to the Minneapolis VA and play there about 4 or 5 times a year. And a couple of years ago, we always have really good results. And a couple of years ago, we played, got done playing, we played for an hour, and this woman came up to me and pointed out a young man in a wheelchair that had a helmet on, and She said he was a traumatic brain injury, and she had worked with him for a couple of months using the iPad, and didn't have any response. And by the time we were done playing, about an hour later with live music, she said he was laughing and speaking in full sentences. So that made me want to get the word out about what kind of effect live music can have on certain kind of veterans that really need to connect with the outside world.
So kind of a music therapy of sorts with these vets.
Kind of therapy, and then another way to just plain honor our nation's veterans. It's always near the 4th of July weekend, so.
And as people would surmise from what you've said, that you're a musician.
Yep.
And as I see on the poster there, you're one of the bands, the Pat McLaughlin Band, that's going to be taking part in this.
Yeah, we have Pat McLaughlin Band and Harrison Street Band, who's a real popular blues band, and then the Lisa Wenger Band. So it's good local music. There'll be food and beverage available for purchase. It's free to the public. We want everyone to be able to go, handicap accessible, and it's a family event. We're going to have things for kids to do there. And other than that, the park is great for kids anyway. It's got a swing set and playgrounds and everything. So
yeah, it's a nice open park. I know they utilize that for other concerts, throughout the summer otherwise. So I mean, it's definitely a great space for that.
Yeah.
And I understand you have a website, vetsfest.org. People can get more information there too.
More information, and if people wanted to donate, it is www.vetsfest.org. It has the lineup, what we'll be doing, our purpose, and if they want to donate, they hit the donation button.
Now imagine event of this magnitude doesn't just happen overnight. Must be a lot of months, I'm sure, of work that go into it. And I understand you have different sponsors that are helping you out too.
Yeah, I'd like to thank some of our sponsors. Let's see, we get a grant from MRAC, that's Minnesota Regional Arts Council. Excel Energy came in as a sponsor, and so did the International Brotherhood Electrical Workers Local 110. Hy-Vee just came in, and we have partnered with the City of Oakdale on this. So it's a real united front to put this thing on. And it is free for the public, but it isn't cheap. And the Minnesota Vietnam Veterans Charity, they pay for the chopper flyover. So we have a lot of people involved.
So from your event, 2 years ago, what kind of feedback did you get from people, maybe even particularly any veterans that came to it?
Well, we were asked to do it again, that's for sure. And I know when the Huey landed, there was some vets tearing up, especially the Vietnam vets, because some of them, they said when they were injured and they were laying there on the battlefield and they heard the chopper blades of that Huey coming to rescue them, they knew they were going to live. So it brings back a lot of memories for people. And we're going to have a color guard, taps at the end. So yeah, we have a lot of people involved.
And are you in need of any volunteers or anybody to come help out?
Well, we do have volunteers, but if people want to volunteer, the email to send it to is volunteervetsfest.com. Okay. And yeah, there's a lot of things to do on a day, for an event like that, and I'm sure you're aware of. It just doesn't come together on its own.
Imagine for you it must be a pretty busy day, besides putting everything on, also having to perform and everything.
It's probably a 14-hour day, so try to get a good night's sleep before and then sleep the next day.
But I imagine it must be worth it if you're doing it again.
It's worth it. I mean, it's very satisfying, and we have some very competent people involved. Randy DeWitz is from Fanfare Attraction. He's the event planner, and he did the Super Bowl this year, so he's very capable.
Yeah, imagine if you can do the Super Bowl, you should be able to handle this too.
He did the first one for us, and it turned out great, and it was great working with the City of Oakdale. They have a great staff there, and they make it very easy for us to, put this thing on.
So what do you hope, at those in attendance, especially the vets, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but, what do you hope that they'll take away from this day?
Well, we just hope that it just brings everyone together, and we do have someone, a music therapist from the VA, coming out to speak and talk about the effects of music on people that are, especially that are, in community living where they can't live. And eventually, we would like to tour the state of Minnesota with our band or another band, because there's a lot of places. The only VA facility that has a budget for entertainment is Minneapolis. And I know there's a VA up in St. Cloud and Hastings and Fergus Falls. So we'd like to get to some of those veterans that are kind of forgotten.
So the first time, you and your band played at a VA, was that, did you know kind of what to expect, or were you just kind of going in not too sure what was going to happen?
We had no idea. And I'm a veteran, and I get my health care out at the VA, and they've always been really good to me. And I figured it was a good way to pay back, and it just kind of grew from there. Catherine Larson works with us. She's the creative arts director out there, and she works very hard to bring entertainment in. That's the first 2 Thursdays of every month, and it's for the guys in community living. And some of those guys aren't going to leave there. So.
And what kind of style of music can people expect when they come out to see the Pat McLaughlin band?
Well, we do a lot of blues, but we do add some country in there for the bring in different range of people. Some rock. So it's a big variety. It's a big variety of music. We're trying to target the whole audience.
So yeah, I was going to say something kind of for everyone that's there.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, great. So once again, the Vets Fest, July 7th at the Richard Walton Park, which is right near Oakdale City Hall.
Yep.
In Oakdale, obviously, and vetsfest.org if people want more info.
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else you care to add that we haven't touched on?
I think we hit everything, so we've covered it all, Joe. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully there'll be some more great events every year from now.
Thank you.
Are you planning to do more in the future?
Oh yeah, we plan on doing it every year.
Great.
And we'll be at Oakdale at Richard Walton Park as long as feasible.
And just hope for some beautiful weather and a fun day for everyone.
Yep, we can plan everything except the weather. So.
Yeah. I'll wish you the best of luck, and we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks a lot. And that's all we have time for on this month's show. Thanks for tuning in, and join us again next month for another edition of Northeast Journal.